Good morning or evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to the latest installment of the interview series that the Center for Freedom and Justice in Colorado is conducting. CFJ Colorado is a nonprofit based out of Denver, Colorado, and our mission is to provide education about and support for the town of Beit Ummar in the West Bank.
How is the weather there? Is cold?
My name is Jennifer, and I am a member of CFJ Colorado. A couple of housekeeping items. Be sure to note our website address in the banner at the bottom of your screen, as well as our contact information. Feel free to email or write us to be added to our contact list. Our interview today will last about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we will have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. For the Q&A, you may use the chat features on either YouTube or Facebook, though we encourage you to hold off on posting any chats or questions until that Q&A session has begun. And now I would like to introduce you to our interviewer for today, Joe Drexler. Joe has quite a resume as an instructor and being involved for many years in labor and union work. When Joe traveled to Beit Ummar a few years ago, what he saw there led him to form our group, CFJ Colorado. So, Joe.
Thank you, Jennifer, and it's great to have Mousa with us today, the founder of the Center for Freedom and Justice in Beit Ummar. And Mousa, we're very happy to have you today.
Thank you.
So I spent about 30 years in the trade union movement, and I had really the opportunity and the privilege of assisting unions throughout the world. Who were involved in labor and human rights struggles. And after I retired, I went to Beit Ummar to try to understand what was happening in Palestine with the occupation and under a system of apartheid. And during that time, I spent a few days at Mousa's house and began to learn about what the Center for Freedom and Justice in Beit Ummar were doing to try and resist the occupation. And there I began to discuss with him his principles of nonviolence and how they were trying to engage in sustainable development to give some hope to the people in Beit Ummar. So we formed our organization to do two things. One is to use the example of Beit Ummar to educate people about the system of apartheid and life under occupation in Israel. And secondly, to raise funds to assist the very important work that Mousa and his colleagues are doing in Beit Ummar. And it was an unforgettable experience that I had. And since that time, we have been able to raise some significant amounts of money for things like children's backpacks, summer schools, equipment for kitchens, and now we're involved in something called the Market of Hope, which is to raise funds to allow a women's cooperative to produce and sell canned goods from the agricultural community in Beit Ummar. We've been very pleased to be able to do that. So, without any further ado, let me introduce my friend Mousa Abu Maria and ask him several questions that I think our viewers would like to learn something about the center and about the work there. So, Mousa, I was wondering if you could just start, maybe tell us a little bit about the town of Beit Ummar. How big is it? Where is it located? And maybe talk about some of the conditions under which people live today in Beit Ummar.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I am happy to be and to talk more about my town. My name is Mousa Abu Maria, and I grow in Beit Ummar town. So and I spent all my life there. So Beit Ummar town is like about 20,000 people. Most the people, they get their income from the agriculture, because 75% from the people, they were farmers and they work in their land. So Beit Ummar is surrounded by 6 settlements. North of Beit Ummar, there is 5 settlements. Start from the big one, which called Gosh Etzion, the one which built from the British time. Then Israeli occupation has come, and they were used that for military place until now. And from the south, there is another settlement which called Karmet Sur. And those settlement is surround Beit Ummar, and always we get trouble from those settlers who live around Beit Ummar, because most the land which is good for agriculture is little bit outside of the town. And when the farmers, they plan to go to harvest, every time the settler with the army, they came to kick and sometimes to attack the farmers. And the army always, they consider that's closed military area, and the farmers, they are not allowed to go to work there. So this condition is since the settlement were built in our land until this time, we have this attack from settlers. So we have daily time, we are suffering from the settler. And also, since 7 years, they start to use another attack, which is, we are talking the harvest time in the summer, they will open the sewage water, and the sewage water is damage most the trees, because the sewage water has much salt, and it can be in the land for 1 month and 2 months, and no one can reach the land. So we are suffer also from the sewage water. Another attack from Beit Ummar, because the entrance of Beit Ummar is controlled by the watchtower. Every week, twice, the army, they enter to the town, and they arrested many of young people, and they will take them to the prison. So the situation is difficult and worse, and people, they have no right sometimes to move outside of Beit Ummar. So we are suffer from settlers and from also the army.
Could you tell us a little bit, perhaps, about what is life like for children in Beit Ummar? Because we understand that a very high number of children from Beit Ummar are in Israeli prisons, and also there's tremendous psychological damage from the raids that frequently occur by the Israeli military.
Yeah. When we want to talk about the normal life, which is like the main school, it's in the center of Beit Ummar. And we have like some people who live outside of the town, and every day morning when they come from outside, they are passing through the watchtower to their school. And the soldier, they stop them, and they check their bags, and sometimes the army, they have some pictures, because the watchtower, sometimes they record the people every day. And if they have some pictures and they find those children, they are in that pictures, they arrest them and they treat them and they put them in jail. This is one condition, but the other condition also, when they take the children to the prison, they scare them and they show them pictures, and they want the children to say, yes, we know those children. Later, the army, they went to their house and they arrested the other children. This is why we have big number from Beit Ummar, it arrested by the army, and the children in the law, they are not allowed to be in the prison. But according to Israeli law, always like they are, the army, they do their job. They are not thinking about if this is legal to take people under 18 years old to the prison or not. So every time when they take them to prison, they force them to say that they throw stone at the army. The children sometimes they are scared and they can say anything because they don't want to be under the suffering from the army because they are afraid. And the army every week, like they go and they arrested by week sometimes 5 children, 6 children in the bend, So this is why we have a big number. And the second reason, because we still under the control of the army. We are not, we have no Palestinian government, even we have no police. So we're controlled by the military and the Israeli army. They can do what they want.
Could you also tell us about the plight of farmers in Beit Ummar? It's my understanding that often they have their land seized, and even if the land is not taken, there are restrictions in terms of them being able to cultivate and their land and keep it in great shape. And at the same time, I understand that there are attacks by settlers on the land. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I want to mention the situation about two kind of settlement, which is we talk about Beit Ain. Beit Ain settlement is the north of Beit Ummar, which is more radical settlers, and they don't believe that the Israeli army, they can build security fence around the settlement because this is the system of all the settlement everywhere. They want to be more open. Those settlers, every time when they saw the farmers working alone in their land, they went and they throw stones at them, and sometimes they attack them, sometimes they shoot them, and they scare them that they cannot go to their land. And always the Israeli soldier, they stand behind those settlers, but they don't do anything because always the army, they try to say we are here for security. But in that situation, the soldier always they are behind the settlers, support them to attack the farmers. And later on, the army, they come and they say the area is a closed military zone, which is only controlled by the army, and the farmers is not allowed to be in his land. And this happened many times. And the farmers, they take that situation to the court, to find solution because they don't want to lose their land and they don't want to be under attack. They want security. But usually, never the farmer, they were success to have their right to be in that land. And the second settlement, which is Karmet Sur, because my father, he owned land. I remember in 2006 when the army and the settlers, they were decide to take 600 dunums around the settlement, and they planned to build fence. I was there at that time. It happened in 2006 in June, and we saw the bulldozer that come to our land, and the trees, it have fruit. So we are run to harvest because we don't want the bulldozer to damage the trees. But what happened, I was arrested from there for 10 days, and many of people, they lost their land and their trees. Later on, they start to build like a security fence around the settlement, and they start to tell the people, we will build also some gate. That's mean you can come by year 3 times to go on to that fence and to work in your land. But people, they resist because they refuse that fence. And because people, because the army, they were attack them every day and they arrested many of them. So the army, they were taking that land and they built the fence. And since 2006 until now, all our trees inside the fence, it's damaged and no one is allowed to go there. So the people who still have land outside the fence, each time when they try even to work in that land, the settler, they came and they throw stones. The army, they came and they shoot tear gas, sound grenade. Sometimes they shoot live ammunition. Sometimes the army, they went outside of the fence and they arrested the farmers. And this has happened always.
Yeah.
So we don't believe that the army, they can work to support farmers there. Always the army in their mind is to follow the agenda of the settlement, which is
Yes.
to take the land.
Okay. Thank you. It seems that since Beit Ummar is an agricultural community, it seems like these are efforts that it's going to strangle to prevent uh, you having an economic base in order to sustain yourselves. So that's really a horrible situation. I wonder if you could talk about yourself a little bit as the founder of the Center for Freedom and Justice, and your experience as a young man, and how that experience as a young man led you to be the founder of the Center for Freedom and Justice in your town.
Yeah. Actually, there's something which is I would like always to do for my town, because I am young, but also I am activist with the grassroots people. So in 1999, that's the first time when the army came to my family house, and they were arrest me and take me to the prison. And they were, after that, they decide in the court to keep me for 5 years in the prison. And as young person, I never have in my mind that I can stay 5 years in prison, but that's happened, you know. And during my time in prison, because we have nothing to do, is more like to focus in education. And more I choose to educate myself about nonviolent. And after I released from prison in the end of 2003, I become to be more active with my friends, but which is to use the nonviolent resistance, and to show that we are not violent people and we have right to struggle in that way, which is we are looking for our freedom and justice. And between 2004 and 2006, we start to build as a nonviolent group. We call it the Popular Nonviolent Resistance. And we start a weekly demonstration in Beit Ummar. And the goal of the demonstration, which is to go to support the agriculture farmers. They have land near the fence of the settlement, because we want to protect that land. The idea is not only to resist and also to focus in building sustainable agriculture project. And I remember we start with two projects at that time, is to plant the trees with the land, which is not with the farmers. It doesn't have good money to plant trees in his land. So we start to raise money by the campaign, and each time to go with different farmers to plant trees and to make the land more legal. And the second project we start is to build a greenhouse. And the greenhouse, the idea is to plant vegetables in that greenhouse, and to make people have their income from the vegetables after they harvest and they sell their vegetables. I find what I did is something good and giving hope for people. Then we start to be more expand to communicate with Israeli activists and also with international people, because we need both community to come and to work with the people in the field, and to see the reality, because we believe our reality is still hiding from international media. And as we are grassroots activists, we choose our way to spread our message from the field to international community. And I find my organization, Center for Freedom and Justice, is a start to be more organized by using the network in a good way, by contacting with the lawyer and with the human rights organization. And then we success to bring more volunteers from everywhere in the world to work with the people who are suffering from those settlements, and sometimes to record the young people after they release from prison and to tell their story to other people. So, so since that time, we start even to find about the other needs of people they want, and we start to think how we can help them. We work with the women because we have many of women. They are good in making local product, organic product, and from that way we support them to sell that product everywhere, and they can have some income. So we find ourselves, we are a good key between our community in Beit Ummar and the international community.
Could you talk about the outreach that you've done to the international community in France, in Norway, and of course, we represent we would like to think we represent North America, and why that work is important, and the United Kingdom.
Actually, since I start to meet the international people in our town in Beit Ummar, the people who plan to come even to stay and to work with us, each time they told us they know nothing about the situation between Palestine and Israel. They don't know about reality. Sometimes their media, they show few information about what going on in Palestine, and that's make me feel our story, it doesn't go everywhere. Our reality is still in the box, you know. Since that time, I start to organize with the people from Europe as to organize for me speaking tour, and I get many invitations from them to go to speak outside about our situation. And I have been in whole Europe for speaking tour. I get invitation from NGOs, sometimes from political people, and they were interested about our experience and about to tell the truth when we show them some videos or PowerPoint, or we send them some newsletter. If I want to talk personally today about my experience, I have been met about more than like 10,000 people from everywhere in the world. They were come to work in Beit Ummar in between 2006 until before Corona. And most of those people, I sure they tell their friends about what happened in Beit Ummar. I believe those people, our story to go by those people to their family, to their friends, to their politician is very important, more than the international media. So I find this way, this is the good way. And today we have many of young people, they have experience to use the social media and to spread the Palestinian reality by internet everywhere. And always I support anyone he would like to come to visit Beit Ummar or our organization. Always we have a program for the volunteers.
Could you talk about the projects that the center is engaged in Beit Ummar, and the support for those projects from the international community, and how you organize those projects in terms of volunteers within your town?
So let's take some example about summer project. We did like every year, for example, summer camp. The idea of the summer camp is like to work with the young people. They will suffer from the Israeli army. The idea is to make education program for them and to make people, the groups is working together. So each year we have about like 75 kids, and we try to hear from them about their story, and we separate them as each 10 child, they are group, and we start to work with them, some of them of art, and the other about education, the other about to teach the history of Beit Ummar. So we have a different kind of a program, and always we have a new young people, they want to participate the summer camp. And sometimes the idea is to build ambassador from those people, is like especially when we teach them English, and we would build them in a good way so they can be the message how to tell the other people about how they are suffering. They will talk about themselves in English to other people. And the second project, also we are working with the women, because the women is part of our situation, and we believe that they have the right not only to be part of the resistance, and also to show how they are supporting their local economy, even by small fund, but we focus especially in the product which is made by the women. I remember first project we start with the craft hand project, and we sell their embroidery to our friends everywhere, and they were like made like bags, or made like other things which is more good for the laptop or the phone. So later on we work with young people, especially the youth, and the youth, they are good in like working in the IT and the computers, and they know how to making film, how to make a newsletter, and we need that issue is like to design our situation by video and to send it everywhere to our friend. Today we focus in local market, which is the one we share with the CFJ Colorado. And the idea is to buy some machine and to make the work for women more easily and fast when they want to put the fruit inside the machine and to separate the seed from the juice, because the idea is to make like jam and to make syrup and juice and other kind of product. And this is very important in our community, because that link for traditional food from the area.
One of the things that we participated in was buying backpacks for the school children. And we
Mhm.
also provided funds for food during Ramadan for needy families. If you could talk about those.
Yes. Actually, in about the bag schools, because we have, as I mentioned, about the children who are suffering, but also their family, they are poor, and they are don't have sometimes the money to buy the bags. And at that time, when we start to share with your group about the bags, because that's what we find the children they need, like, and the families, and they don't have their parents money to buy the bags. So we start to talk about the project, and we include about 7 areas from like around Beit Ummar to give these bags to them. And I look for the result, like the face of the children, even in the school when they have the bags. Their parents, they were happy. The children, they are happy for that. And as an organization, we are happy too, because even we give some part for help, but we feel we give the hope for many other kids. The other project we every year in Ramadan, also we focus in food for to give to the poor families, which is mean they are also poor from the economic way. And also we ask our friend from Colorado to be part of that, and we are happy because they will support also the food of books for many families, Beit Ummar and other areas around Beit Ummar. And also we we still cooperate with the Colorado CFJ for try step by step to develop other kind of project. And we are happy because both of us, when we are think together, how we can support the community, and we find anyone even can be part of that, It's give kind of support for people, and this is very important for people who are suffering. Uh, and I would like to thank CFJ Colorado for all the help, even from economic way or from the political support, which is they still talking about, they tell their friends about the situation in Beit Ummar.
Yes. I wonder if you could talk about some of the remarkable projects that you've accomplished in terms of a swimming pool or a soccer field or an amphitheater. None of that was there when I was there. But since that time, you have been able to, with the help of your local volunteers as well as support from the international community, carry out these amazing projects. If you could talk about that.
Yeah, actually, if I want to talk about the size of the project, it's really too much big for our organization. I am talking about a 7,000 meter square. We are working on, and the idea is like to build the park, which is everyone in Beit Ummar is missing to find a swimming pool. So this project we start since 4 years, and we design all that space of land to build the football place, which is funded by CFJ Norway. And the second project is a swimming pool. And the third project is like we build a machine like ship machine and a cafe. And the other part is a big garden. That project, it was, as I mentioned, is big for us, but in the end, we were success like to build that project. The result is first year in 2019, since we start to open the park, I remember every month they enter to visit the park. More than 1,000 people they enter to visit the park. Especially the young people, they were happy to go to play football because the football we design it in a good way. And in the summertime, when the weather is very hot, many of young people they went to swim. This is the first project until now. It's built in Beit Ummar by our organization, and we still working to develop there like a theater, a project. And the idea of the theater is to teach about agriculture, about art, about our traditional dancing and other things. We today we feel we are hero because everyone is talk about our organization. They build something big like the park.
And how do you finance these larger projects? How do you finance it? And do you use a lot of volunteers in Beit Ummar to build them?
Yeah, actually, the first idea we were using volunteer. Some friends they were engineers. They helped me to design the place and to give me like the budget for each project we want to do, and they told me the cost. So in the beginning, we start, to write in the paper like what we want to do. The first idea we share with our friend from Norway about the football project, and they were agree with us, and they start to raise money for that. In short time, maybe in 2 months, they were success to get a good fund for the project. And the people they were fund the project from Norway, their background is like they were sport, they were play football too, and they were fund all the money for the football project. And for the swimming pool, we get part of the fund from France and also from Italy at that time. And we find two Palestinians, they were invest also some money in that. And we get some help from the our municipality, they will give us bulldozer to work there when we want to dig in the land, and electricity. So we get some worker and we pay them, and also we have some volunteers who work in that project. The other, for example, the gardening, there were some people, they were plant flowers, and they donate like flowers for the park, like to plant trees and the flower, and they come to help us. So that it was volunteer time to work in the planting flowers and the other trees. For the theater project, we get fund from Norway. Also, I think we get some support from CFJ Colorado and some from France. And so with that money, we start to build the theater. My friend, I have one friend also, he's a worker, and he came as a volunteer to help for the building. And also my brother, his name Ibrahim, he's an electric engineer. He say, I will fix some of electricity there. So we have like some people, they help also.
Would these projects been developed? Would they have been developed without CFJ? In other words, is this the first park that people in Beit Ummar can use? The first soccer field? These things did not exist, and you don't get money from the Palestinian Authority, from the Palestinian government?
No, actually, the Palestinian government never they help for this kind of project, especially in Beit Ummar. As I mentioned, Beit Ummar is still controlled by the army, and we don't have any support. I remember I contacted the Palestinian government at that time, but the answer was good, but in the field is zero, which is they are not active to do something officially in the field. Yes, this is the first park it's built in Beit Ummar. We have no other park in the area, not only in Beit Ummar, because also if we want to talk about Sorif, is our town, is most the people from there, when they plan to go outside of their town, they pass from Beit Ummar. So we have visitors from also Sorif town, from Al Arub refugees camp, and from the other areas. All of them, they come to this park because Beit Ummar is a center between Bethlehem and Hebron city, and most the towns and the area close to Beit Ummar, they come to visit the park. And that's the first also swimming pool we have in the park. As I mentioned, the size of the land is very big, is 7,000 meters square. And we developed some good project, and many families, they miss this kind of project.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And it's my understanding that you're also heavily involved in agriculture, that you've developed greenhouses, allowing farmers to cultivate and harvest their crops. And at the same time, you've built wells, cisterns for water. Since the Israelis control the water, you've had to do all those kinds of things in order to sustain life in this agricultural community.
Yeah. The water is big question in whole Palestine, but especially in Beit Ummar, because we are agriculture, and every farmers, he need two kind of water, one water for his land and water for a drink. For example, in the summertime, we get water one time by Israel because they don't want our agriculture to be in a good condition. So the farmers, many of farmers, they lost their land because there's no good water they can use for their land, especially for the vegetables that they plant in the greenhouse. So the idea is to collect water and to build some wells that to use water to save water in the winter time and to use it in the summertime. Why we did that project? Because we are suffer, especially in the summertime from Israel, from the water. They don't give the like the good cubes for people in Beit Ummar. For example, the settlement south of Beit Ummar, which is called Kermet Sur, there were about 1,000 settlers today. They are living there. Those settlers, they can have water 10 times double of people in Beit Ummar. And the settler, they can have the water for drink, for cleaning, for using in that land, But people in Beit Ummar, sometimes they buy water for drink in the summertime because we don't have enough water to drink. The idea to save the water because we need it for our agriculture land. But we don't have enough to do for that because this is big problem, and our organization, the small organization, cannot find big solution for the people in Beit Ummar.
Yeah. Do you think the work that you're doing in Beit Ummar is unique? Or are all the other villages engaging in these kinds of projects and efforts at nonviolence and sustainability as you are in Beit Ummar?
Yeah, I do remember like our steering committee. We were about 24 places in whole West Bank. They will have the same idea. They will have weekly nonviolent demonstration, and always we call each other. And those people, they have the same message, but in each place is a different. For example, Beit Ummar is because of agriculture land. We are suffering from the settlement, but we don't have the apartheid wall yet. But the other people, they resist in the north to against the apartheid wall because the apartheid wall, it's built in their land. For example, Beit Ummar is famous for grapes and apples and plum, but the other areas, they are famous for the olive trees. The olive trees it not need more water, but in our area it need more water. So the situation is different, but we have the same goals. Like we are unique in some similar action, but we are different because the situation of any area is not the same. The problem is not the same sometimes. But for example, we are unique in legal issue because we are suffer from the same policy, and always we have same lawyers who are taking our case to the court. Sometimes we agree that we are suffering from the water, south or north, but sometimes we are suffering from settlement, but they are suffering from the wall. But in general, we are suffering from the occupation policy in our field.
Could you tell us about the new road that the Israelis are building that will isolate Beit Ummar from other villages, and why the Israelis are doing that and the purpose of the road?
The idea, since they start to build the apartheid wall, which is the separation wall, the areas from each other, even like when they separate Jerusalem from Ramallah. So the separation strategy of Israel is not only for the apartheid wall, but also for the road. The road, like they build in Beit Ummar land since last year, they start to build it, is because they want to separate the Palestinians' cars from the Israelian, and they don't want them to be together. And in the future, for example, if today I want to go from Beit Ummar to Bethlehem, which is take 20 minutes from me to be there, but I think after they finish this road, it will take from me to be in Bethlehem like 1 hour. And Israel, they consider this road, it's more safety for the Israelian who pass from the north until the south. So this is separation apartheid road and it give more security for Israelis, and it's make the Palestinians from the other side is suffering more. And this is not only in Beit Ummar, but this road it built in the south is a new, but they were built something similar in the north a long time ago. So we know in their mind what they want to do in the future.
Okay. There's been a recent announcement in Israel that has designated certain organizations. These are non-governmental organizations. These are humanitarian organizations as terrorist groups. And of course, that means that other groups like yours may be designated as a terrorist group. Do you have fear that may happen?
Yes, always we keep this in our mind, because Israel, if they know any organization from Palestine, even from Israel, they are working for peace and justice, and they want to show the international community about the reality. Israel, they consider that is a terrorist organization. So they did that for some Israeli organization, like Beit Salem, like also, I think there is another one, it's ICAD, but from Israel, but from the Palestinian side also they were talk about some human rights organization like Damir and the others. So Israel are continue in this way, and they consider, even if we focus, for example, to develop the agriculture, and they find later the land will be more good, giving good income, people, they are more healthy, they are working there, they will consider our organization as a terrorist, So they don't want any good organizations, that they can work for showing the international community about the reality, and the other side to give help for people as to live.
Okay. I have one final question, and that is what you spoke about earlier in terms of being able to organize civil protests, nonviolent civil protests against some of the actions of the military, the government, or the settlers. And oftentimes you have homes that are demolished in Beit Ummar, and there are protests over that. And just a few months ago, there was a young child that was killed by the Israeli military when the child was with his father and on a shopping trip, and there were large protests over that. So how do you why are those protests so important to people in Beit Ummar and throughout Palestine?
Actually, it's very important to protect the land. And we chose the nonviolent strategy, which is like to bring the media to that land, and to make interview with the farmers, and to show that the land is belong to the farmers, is not belong to the settlement. So we felt as to organize weekly nonviolent demonstration and to go to that land is very important, because each time we call new people to come, and when the new people they are coming and participate our demonstration, in the demonstration, like also we give the talk about the situation in the area. And always we have local media, they were covering our demonstration, and later on they put that in TV. And when the people they watch the TV, they can hear about the situation in Beit Ummar, and the second they will know about the people who organize the nonviolent demonstration. I think the nonviolent way is very important, because according to international law, that anyone is using nonviolent action is protected even by the international law. And secondly, also, with the other message, when we invite the international people to come and to join us and to write about the story, we want the people to see by their own eyes and to write about the reality. We don't want them, for example, just to hear the story from here and there. We want them to judge the situation by what they can like see in the field, because we believe our message can be spread by them too to international community.
Okay.
This is very important. We need people as to come to spend time in Palestine, because there's many different kind of stories in Palestine, and we believe each one can write something to his community back, and this is how our solidarity can grow everywhere.
Okay. Well, Mousa, I am going to turn it back to Jennifer. This has been very, very informative. I want to thank you not just for your time today, but for all of your efforts. And I think Jennifer's going to remind people how listeners, viewers can donate either through us. All the money that we donate goes to CFJ and Beit Ummar, or directly through you. And she's also going to field some questions. Yeah.
And also, Joe, I want to thank you, because my work, it go to Colorado, even by your time when you were in Palestine, when we met short time, but from that you become to understand more about the situation. And thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you so much, Mousa. So as Joe mentioned, I was just going to mention, if anyone would like to donate, here's our website on the screen, as well as our email. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, if you want to mail in any money, we have a P.O. box as well. And we're having a few sound difficulties, so I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague Sergio, and he's going to read out some questions from the chat.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you. And thank you, Mousa, again. It's been informative, to say the least. We do have a few questions, and in fact, when we're talking about the speaking tour in Europe, we'd love to consider inviting you to a speaking tour in the U.S. This is something that would be absolutely amazing. I don't know if you've had any experience with trying to find a foothold for speaking the realities of Beit Ummar in the U.S. Have you tried, or is that yet to be done? Mousa, can you hear me?
Mousa, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Sergio, we're having a sound problem. Sergio asked that if it might be possible, and have you thought about perhaps doing a speaking tour in the United States or North America, including Canada, as you have done in Europe?
Yes, no, actually, in most of the time I was spent in Europe and some Arab countries, but in United States and Canada, never that happened.
And why is that? Would you have a problem perhaps getting into one of these countries?
No, no, it's no problem. It was no problem even to go there. And I remember the Canadian TV one time, they were covering interview with me, and but it was in French way, not in English.
Yeah.
And no, there is like some people from Canada, Australia, even United States, they are happy if I can go there, and they can do something, like they can manage some meeting or interview or whatever. But never I try.
Okay.
Another
Sergio, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, another question, and it's a different story. After Netanyahu's departure, is there any difference in perhaps the possibility of ending the occupation?
Sergio's question is, after Netanyahu's departure, is there any possibility in the new climate of ending the occupation? Is there any hope?
No, there is no any hope from in Israel. It's not important who is the president, because all of them, they follow like one strategy. So if Netanyahu or other, even the new government now, we don't have any hope from any one of them. And the reason why, look today in Negev, even they start to attack Palestinians from Negev, and most the people in Negev, they have Israeli citizenship, and they are under attack. So we have no any hope from any, not from Netanyahu, not from Bennett even.
Okay.
So with all these difficulties and the dire situation, we have another question in regards to mental health. What kind of mental health issues do you have or do you have to address?
Sergio's question is, what kind of mental health issues do you have as a result of the occupation, and how do you address those problems, those mental health problems?
You know, in Beit Ummar, we have, for example, maybe 3 clinic, but this is like simple clinic, like a doctor. The main hospital we do have, it's in Hebron City and Beit Lahem. So if many times we are suffer from the health, when people, they were sick and they have to go to the good hospital, you know, we have a good hospital or a good clinic in Beit Ummar, which can work with the people is suffering from that. So only the way is to go outside of Beit Ummar, and many times we are suffer from the entrance of Beit Ummar because of the checkpoint. Sometimes the army can let the people wait for 1 hour or 2 hours. Even if we talk with the army that there are people that are sick, they have to go to the hospital, but the army always, they are saying, no, we are here for security, we have to check, we have to do that. So from the health way in Beit Ummar, we have real suffer too.
Okay. One more question in regards to the Oslo Accords. It was essentially defined that Area C was under Israeli security control. Does that mean that they are legally able to build the 7 settlements that are around Beit Ummar? And what kind of legal or civil rights do people in Area C have?
Okay. His question is about Area C. According to the Oslo Accords, that the Israeli government has control and the military has control of Area C. And so this is the area in which many of the problems are. What kind of rights do people have, if any, in Area C, if it's controlled by the military? And much of Beit Ummar is Area C.
Yeah, actually, if we talk about right, there's no right, because because Beit Ummar Area C, and we are suffer, for example, from the settlers. So, and we believe that we have right to go even to the court to judge those settlers, and we have a proof. But we know if we go to the court, even the judge, he's military. So he will not give right and justice for the people from Beit Ummar who are suffering from the settlers. So, for example, we have, even if we call the Palestinian police, they cannot come to do any kind of help for people in Beit Ummar, because they have no right to be in Beit Ummar without get permit from the Israeli army.
Okay.
So Israel, they keep Beit Ummar under military control, is because they don't want people to have any right there. So there is no real right in Beit Ummar by the Israeli policy.
All right. So I think we're running out of time. I just want to remind people that we generally don't get very many people that are on our podcast live, but we do get several hundred sometimes that watch the podcast after. So Jennifer, could you remind people where they can view the podcast after?
Of course. So it'll always be posted on our Facebook website. You just go to Facebook and search CFJ Colorado. And then also if you go to our website, which again is listed at the bottom of the screen, we'll always have links to the Facebook page as well as our YouTube account. The YouTube usually gets posted a little bit after. So thank you.
Again, yes.
Go ahead, Joe.
And again, we want to thank you, Mousa, for all the wonderful things and courageous things that you've done under the most difficult circumstances that anyone could imagine in Beit Ummar and in Palestine. And we honor you for those accomplishments and your group.
Thank you so much, Joe.
All right.
And
thank you, everyone, and we will keep you posted on our next interview installment.
My last message for just people when they heard about Palestine is to think one time that they can come visit Palestine. And for us, we can tell them more than welcome to welcome you and to give good things for you. But the idea also is like to know about the reality in Palestine. And always we are for peace and justice for everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.